Hey guys, welcome back. And today I'm talking about the FRM part 2. What exactly is the FRM part 2? What are the subjects? What are the weightages? What is the difficulty level? What is the right order of sequence? Basically, all your questions regarding the FRM part 2, I've compiled and I'm going to be answering each one of them. Okay, so this is going to be the FRM part 2 explained. Before we go ahead, just want to let you know this is our website www.weightage.com. You can check out the prep packages for FRM part 2, right? All right, having said that, let's get right into it. Now, first off, I'm going to talk about what is the major difference in terms of the exam structure, comparing it with FRM part 1 and FRM part 2. So in FRM level 1, we had 100 questions, 4 hours to complete our exam. There's no negative marking, and the total number of chapters that we had was 62 chapters. Now compare this with FRM level 2. Here on the exam you get 80 questions. Again, the same time, 4 hours, right? So less number of questions. That's the first difference. Again, no negative marking. And here is a major thing that we have for FRM level 2. Almost close to 100 plus readings or chapters. Yes, you heard it right. 107 chapters in the FRM level 2 2026 curriculum. So that is going to be a major difference. More number of chapters, less questions on the exam, and everything remains the same. So this is the exam structure difference that we should know. Okay, moving on, what is going to be the part 2 challenges? Well, the amount of curriculum or the length of the curriculum is going to be absolutely huge, and that is going to be one of the major challenge that you will come across. Secondly, revision and retaining such a large amount of information, that could be another challenge that you could face. And what you can do now is that you can either, when you are reading, either the Schweser notes, in that situation you can keep undermarking or highlighting the text in the Schweser so that you can revise it very quickly, or you can read through the key concepts that you have at the end of every chapter in the Schweser notes. And what we have done is that we have created a crash course for the entire FRM level 2 curriculum. So each and every learning objective has been covered in that particular crash course, and in just about 35 hours or 40 hours you can complete the entire FRM level 2. And on top of this, we also provide a ebook in a PDF format, which is a summarized notes that summarizes the entire level 2 in just about 300 to 350 pages. All right, so that is just one of the things that you can consider in your FRM part 2 prep. Now, another challenge could be that since you're getting less number of questions and more chapters, there could be a scenario that you could be tested on multiple concepts. So on the exam, it could be a bit of challenging, like to understand which question is asked from which particular book, right? So that mix and match could be there. However, it's not going to be too much. Maybe a few questions where multiple question concept might have been tested. So these are the challenges that you can actually face. Moving on to what should be the right order of sequence. Since you're starting out for your FRM part 2 prep, again, mentioning this is not a roadmap video. I'm going to create a separate video for the FRM part 2 roadmap. This is just on the normal FAQs that you may have on your mind. What should be the right order of sequence? Well, first, let me talk about the weightages. In market risk, you have 20% credit, 20% operational risk, 20%. So these three subjects, they form 60% of the curriculum. And then you have risk investment and liquidity. These form another 30% of the curriculum. And then finally, you have a very standalone subject, which is the current issues, that forms about 10%. So this is how the weightage has been structured. The heavyweight books are the operational, credit, and market risk. Having said that, you have to focus equally, right? It does not mean that you'll not focus on current issues, which has the least amount of weightage. No, don't do that. This can actually help you to boost your overall quartile on the exam. So focus on current issues as well. Talking about the right order of sequence, start with the market risk, right? Some of the chapters that you will see, it talks about the value at risk, right? Which is a known topic to you from level 1. So you can begin with the market risk. Then begin with the credit risk, something that you've seen in level 1, the Wasicek model, the expected or unexpected losses. So begin with the credit risk next. Then you take the risk investment, operational risk, liquidity risk, and then finally the current issues. Why do you take current issues at the end? Because it is mostly theory in nature. Okay, so moving on to the next question, is FRM part 2 theory or numerical? So many students have this doubt that, is it going to be theory? Is there a lot of chapters which are theory or numerical? So if you look at the current issues, this is going to be a theory heavy subject. And apart from that, you also see operational risk. In the operational risk, there are like 24 chapters, out of which you will see like 4 to 5 chapters that requires you to do the calculations or has calculative topics. Apart from that, the rest are absolutely theoretical in nature, right? Or theory chapters is what we call it. So that's why if you look at it, I have kept current issues to be at the very bottom, something that you do after you complete all these things, right? So that's how I have designed the right order of sequence. So current issues, operational risk, they are mostly theory. If I talk about numerical, market risk, it has a lot of calculations, a lot of models that you will see. Same goes for credit risk. Risk investment has a mix of both, right? And then again, liquidity risk, it's also a mix of everything, right? You will see a lot of calculation questions, but at the same time, it's going to have the theory about the liquidity and treasury, right? So very interesting book, which is the liquidity risk. All right, having said that, what is going to be the overall difficulty level? It can be challenging. Part 2 can be challenging, not because it has difficult topics. No, absolutely not. It is difficult or challenging because the amount of curriculum, it's very vast, right? So it requires you to spend the time, dedicate or devote the time to it. That is what the difficulty level of FRM part 2 as compared to part 1 would be. Why it is manageable? Because obviously you have moved one level up, right? And you now know what are the basics of VAR, the basics of stress testing, the country risk, some of the things that you've learned in level 1. So basically you have that base level of knowledge that is required for part 2. You're no longer new to finance or new to risk. So I think that really helps you to understand what are the topics that we have in these 6 subjects. And again, these are the 6 subjects that you have. If you purchase Schweser notes, you will see 5 books, but in the Schweser, the risk investment and current issues are clubbed together. So that's why you will see 5 books. Okay, just mentioning that. All right, moving on to the next questions. Which book or what books to refer, Schweser or GARP? Keeping it simple, Schweser does the job, no need to refer anything else. Why people do not consider GARP material for level 2, specifically level 2 I'm talking about? Well, the reason is that if you look at the curriculum, that is very huge, right? If you look at the length of the GARP material, that is very huge, it's very vast. That could be one of the reasons why people skip the GARP material and they stick to the Schweser. Another point is that the language that is used in the GARP, that is somewhat bit technical, so you're not gonna appreciate the content very well, and that can be overwhelming. So in order to avoid that, refer the Schweser notes. It summarizes the GARP very well and it gives you the essence of what is required for the exam. Okay, and what I do is that I have created my own notes as well. Okay, that can be combined using the Schweser note. So you don't have to worry about GARP. You're not going to miss out anything. You combine the Schweser plus our notes and you'd be good. Again, but if you're doing self-study, Schweser is good to go. What are the number of study hours required? Well, ideally the recommended hour as per GARP is 300. But again, some may require more hours, let's say 400, 450 hours, depending on their learning style and so on and so forth. But ideally the recommended hours is 300, so you can divide it as per your schedule. It could also be a scenario that some may require even less, maybe 200, 250 hours, right? Someone who's already working in market or had exposure to market risk or credit risk may grasp the material very well and very quickly. So in that situation, that could be a scenario where people may require less amount. All right, when to appear? This is a major question, right? May, August, or November? So if I talk about May 2026, you approximately have 4 months. August, you have approximately 7 or 8 months in your hand. And November, you almost have 10 to 11 months. That's what you have right now. Having said that, so now looking at it, if you feel that you want to appear the exam very quickly, you want to keep that momentum going, the confidence going, and you just want to push through for the next 4 months, May is doable for you. Is it manageable? Yes, it is going to be manageable, but you will have to stretch a lot. Maybe if you're a working professional, you'll have to stretch after your working hours or before your working hours, and somewhere or the other, you have to manage through it, right? It's going to be stressful, but for the next 4 months. If I talk about November, it's almost like 10 to 11 months. There's a lot of time, space for you to maintain your work commitments, personal events, or anything like that. So that's a lot of space that you get. So you can consider November if you want to go very slow and steady, digest the curriculum, so on and so forth. But the best one, in my opinion, I would say that is going to be the August. Why? Because you have a decent time, right? 7 months in hand. Each month you give focus to one book. For the next 6 months, you can complete the curriculum. So August is something very doable. Of course, not too much relaxed, not too much in a rush. So August is decent. Also, one thing that I want to highlight here, okay, and that is if you give in August, the results usually come by June end or max by July 1st, 2nd, or 3rd of the July. And if you give it in August, the results ideally come by the August end itself or maybe the first week of September. So if you look at the difference between May and August, it's ideally just about 30-40 days. So that's just one perspective that I feel that you should know. So having said that, you can decide what works best for you. If you are a student, probably consider May or August. If you're a working professional, probably consider August or November. That's just one suggestion again. All right. Is there any sectional cutoffs in FRM Part 2? As I said, there are 6 books or 6 subjects that we have. But again, there's no sectional cutoffs here. Performance is evaluated across the entire paper. Okay, so that is what the thing about the FRM is. So with that being said, guys, I'm done with this particular video. If I have missed any questions, make sure that you write it in the comments below and I will answer that. Okay, having said that, I'll see you in the next video with the roadmap for the FRM Part 2. Okay, thank you so much for your time.